Yeah.
Can I just ask what's happening now?
Now it's a Bhagavad Gita class.
How long does that last?
From 6, maybe after 6:30, closer to 7 finishes.
Starts now until
Yeah.
7.
Yeah, well, maybe not until 7, but
Until about 6:30.
yeah, then 7 is arti.
It's at 7 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I thought the arti was now.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Sure. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, welcome to today's Bhagavad Gita class. Today we're going to be reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text number 42 to 43. So, we're first going to begin with the Jai Radha Madhava prayers. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yasodhanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Sorry for my lack of musical ability with cartels and things. So just going to do some invocation prayers. Om Gyana Timriyandasya Gananjana Salakaya Jakchurun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutaye Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Prastyatya Desadarne. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So if you can please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And before we begin speaking, I'd also like to seek your blessings that I may be able to speak something worthwhile, and also the blessings of those who may be listening online. Vancha kalpa drubascha kripa sindhubeva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Okay. Here. Today we're reading from chapter number 2, text number 43 to 44. So there's two verses. I was thinking maybe we'll translate one verse or recite one verse, and the verse I think we should recite is the first verse. I'll just read all of it through first. Yam imam puspitam vacham pravadatya vipachitaha vedavada rataparta nanyadastiti vadina karmatmana svagarpara janma karma phala pradam kriya vishesha bahulam bogesvarya gatim prati. And then we'll recite the first verse. So if you can please repeat after me. Yam imam puspitam vacham pravadatyabhipaschitaha Veda vada rata parta Nanya rastiti vadina Yamimam puspitam vacham Pravadantyabhipaschitaha Veda vada rata parta Nanya rastiti vadina Yam imam puspitam vacham Pravadantyabhipaschitaha Veda vada rata parta Nanya rastiti vadina. Would anyone like to try the Sanskrit recitation? Yamimam puspitam vacham Pravadantyabhipaschitaha Vedavada rata parta Nanya rastiti vadinaha. Would anyone else like to try? Okay, so we'll move on to the translation and purport. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth, being desires of sense gratification and opulent life. They say that there is nothing more than this. So, if you can please repeat after me. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth, being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life. They say that there is nothing more than this. And purport. People in general are not very intelligent, and due to their ignorance, they are most attached to the fruitive activities recommended in the Karma Kanda portions of the Vedas. They do not want anything more than sense gratificatory proposals for enjoying life in heaven, where wine and woman are available, and material opulence is very common. In the Vedas, many sacrifices are recommended for elevation to the heavenly planets, especially the Jyotishtoma sacrifices. In fact, it is stated that anyone desiring elevation to heavenly planets must perform these sacrifices, and men with a poor fund of knowledge think that this is the whole purpose of Vedic wisdom. It is very difficult for such inexperienced persons to be situated in the determined action of Krishna consciousness, as fools are attached to the flowers of poisonous trees without knowing the results of such attractions. Unenlightened men are similarly attracted by such heavenly opulence and the sense enjoyment thereof. In the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas, it is said, Apama somam amrita abhuma and akshayam havai chaturmasya yagna sukritam bhavati. In other words, those who perform the 4-month penances become eligible to drink the samaras beverages, to become immortal and happy forever. Even on this earth, some are very eager to have samaras, to become strong and fit to enjoy sense gratifications. Such persons have no faith in liberation from material bondage, and they are very much attached to the pompous ceremonies of Vedic sacrifices. They are generally sensual, and they do not want anything other than the heavenly pleasures of life. It is understood that there are gardens called the Nandana Kashana, in which there is good opportunity for association with angelic, beautiful women, and having a profuse supply of Samaras wine. Such bodily happiness is certainly sensual. Therefore, though there are those who are purely attached to such material, temporary happiness as lords of the material world. Srila Prabhupada ki. Okay. So it's quite a strong statement from the beginning. Srila Prabhupada, he says in his purport, intelligent men that is not very common. So there's a saying that it's a common saying actually. It says common sense is not so common. So this is just the nature of the material world, that we have this tendency to think that we know everything, and we try to actually lord it over this material world. There's two main psychological activities. This is that we want to be the enjoyer and also to be the controller. So in this material world, us jivas, us individual souls, we try to lord it over this material nature. So this is this tendency that we have. And Srila Vyasadeva, he created the Vedas, and the Vedas are in different sections. So those sections, some are what's described here as the karma kanda. So these are fruitive activities. And there's different activities, and even in different traditions throughout the world, that we can see there's these different descriptions that if we do so and so, we can attain so much good, happiness and heavenly life. So this is what is actually offered in many of the scriptures. But ultimately, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Abrahma bhuvana loko punar arvatino arjuna mamupatya tukunteya punyar janma navidyate, that all these different planets, from Lord Brahma down to the lowest planet in this material universe, that all of them are places of suffering wherein repeated birth and death takes place. So what we call the heavenly planets is not simply our final salvation. So these heavenly planets, it's also mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam that heavenly planets, they're actually not very desirable for those who are actually in knowledge. Heavenly planets are actually something that is misleading. So heavenly planets are for those people who want to enjoy material opulence, material enjoyment. But in terms of devotional service and the descriptions in the Vedas, we know that there is lower planetary systems and higher planetary systems. And that is all within the jurisdiction of this material universe. But beyond this material universe is the spiritual world. And in the spiritual world, it's devoid of all enjoyment, all self-centeredness. In the spiritual world, it's simply where people try to actually serve others rather than their own selves. So this is a more refined path of sense gratification, which is offered in the Vedas. in the heavenly planets, they may be more subtle, more glorious, more pure, but still, it's just sense gratification. So it will never actually lead to happiness and fulfillment. So ultimately, we have to actually ultimately to reawaken our individual relationship that we have with that Supreme Person. So it said in the Bhagavad Gita, Yanti Deva Vrata Deva and Pitran Yanti Pitar Vrataha. Yanti Majyat Vinopimam. So sorry, what's the full verse there again? Yanti Majyat Vinopimam. Yeah, okay. So it says if we want to actually go to the demigods, to the devas, we take shelter of the devas. So if we want to go to the ancestors, we take shelter of the ancestors. If we want to go to the forefathers, we take shelter of the forefathers. But Krishna says, if we want to go to him, we must take shelter of him. So based on our consciousness, whatever we actually take shelter of, that will be our destination. The mind is very much attached to so many different things over so many lifetimes, and to actually get rid of this hard knot of material attachment and so many attachments, we actually have to work at that. So the process for this age is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Srila Prabhupada, he recommends, Lord Chaitanya, Krishna recommends, thank you, Mataji, that for us to actually chant at least 16 rounds a day. And this is the process which is recommended by Krishna himself as Lord Chaitanya. So for the process for this age is to chant the holy name. So in different ages, there's different processes. Also, in terms of Vedic knowledge, many different people have many different realizations of who is the absolute truth and what is the absolute truth. So this is even common in terms of those who are learned, in terms of the Brahmanas. So there's one story I'd like to tell, which is actually of one such Brahmana. This Brahmana was a very learned Brahmana. He was a friend of Krishna. You may know him. His name is Sudama Vipra. So Sudama Vipra, he was a childhood friend of Krishna, and we can learn many things from his life. As a childhood friend of Krishna, they were school friends, and after the brahmachari life, Sudama Vipra, he went on to get married, and he lived a very simple life. Krishna says, actually, from the beginning, you were never so interested in sense gratification. You had no actual attachment for worldly opulence, and as such, that Sudama Vipra was very learned. He knew that happiness and distress, they'll simply come of their own accord. Matras varsus kunchaya shitnosna sukha dukkada agamino piananitnas tamsasva bharataha. That happiness and distress, they come of their own accord, like the change of the summer and winter seasons. So it's simply that we're going to receive whatever happiness or distress will naturally come of their own accord. We don't have to endeavor, no matter how opulent we are, how much happiness we have, we're still due the same amount of happiness and distress. So Sudama Vipra was not fooled by material illusion, and as such he lived very simply. as a brahmana, and his wife was very chaste, and uh, she she would follow him, and she would never complain. Um, but ultimately, he was very much poverty stricken. So, in this sense, his wife started to petition. So she said, your friend Krishna, and she glorified Sudam. She said that, you were so, you don't have any attachment. You're pure. You're sincere. Krishna will happily bestow upon you some opulence, just so you can actually, um, just at least meet the demands of everyday life. So Sudam was very humble. He had all the good qualities of a brahmana. He was peaceful, self-controlled, and so on. And in the end, he decided to accept the request of his wife, and he ended up to set off for Dwarka to meet Krishna. And at this time, he requested from his wife something that he can actually offer to Krishna. So, being so poor, his wife, she asked for something from the neighbors, and they gave some chipped rice, a small amount of chipped rice, and they folded this in a cloth, just a small cloth like a handkerchief. And from there, Sudam set off on his journey to Dwarka. So on the way into Dwarka, it's quite an elaborate city. Not everybody can see Krishna, but Krishna is so merciful, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha, that Krishna is the one who serves the brahmanas and the cows. So for this reason, Sudam was allowed access into Dwarka, and Dwarka was such a grand city. He passed through 3 kind of military-style camps, and then finally into the city itself, which was so opulent that it had 16,000 different palaces for all of Krishna's wives. And on the way in, Krishna could see Sudam, and ultimately he gave Sudam a grand reception. So since Sudam was very dear to Krishna and a brahmana, he washed Sudam's feet, he honored the water, he smeared different auspicious items on the body of Sudam, such as sandalwood pulp, guru wood, Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Shri Shri Sitaram Laxman Hanuman ki, Shri Shri Gornitai ki. Such as a guru wood. I had to find out exactly what a guru wood is. It's from a certain tree, and it's a resin which is used for very nice perfumes and so on. And also, Krishna, he offered Sudam puja and arti with incense. So Sudam was, and all the other actual residents of the palace, they were very, very much surprised to actually see the welcome which was offered to Sudam. And even actually Krishna, he actually personally, he embraced Sudam. And this was something which is very unusual, because actually Krishna generally, he actually only embraces Balaram and Rukmini. So this was, again, the residents of the palace and so on were somewhat flabbergasted. And it goes to show that for one who is dear to Krishna, Krishna says, always think of me, become my devotee. Mana bhava mad bhakto, that one is actually thinks of me always, renders service unto me, offers their homage unto me, becomes very dear to me. Pratigyano priyosi me. So Sudam was very dear to Krishna, and Sudam, he felt even somewhat ashamed that how could he offer Krishna something so insignificant as chipped rice. And Krishna even had to encourage Sudam. So eventually, Sudam, he offered Krishna what he saw as such a meager offering of chipped rice. And Krishna only had so much, and Krishna was completely satisfied. So it says, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Patram puspam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktyu paritam asnami prayatatmanaha. If one offers me a leaf, a fruit, a flower, or water, with love and devotion, I will accept it. So Krishna doesn't see the offering. He doesn't see the opulence. Someone could be, it could be the wealthiest person in the world, but Krishna looks at the true wealth, which is actually the love in which Krishna's devotee has for him within his heart. And in this sense, Sudama wasn't anyway, thinking about any such return or remuneration. He was just happy to try and please Krishna. And upon Sudam's return to his wife and his home, his humble abode, he saw that actually his whole home, what used to be there, was no longer there. It had been transformed into what's described as palaces, and enough opulence, which is fitting for the King of Heaven. So Sudam was completely elated, and as was his wife. But Sudam, the thing is that Krishna actually tests his devotees, and Krishna is willing to give everything to his devotee. But Krishna is just like a father. He tests the devotee. He only gives the devotee what's actually good for them. He won't give a devotee so much opulence if it's going to actually to lead that person astray. He'll only give them what's actually good for their devotional life. And in this sense, Sudam being completely renounced, he saw all this opulence as the mercy of the Lord, the prasadam of the Lord, and still he continued to live simply and simply as a devotee of Krishna. So this is something that we can all learn from, the example of a very dear devotee of the Lord, Sudama Vipra. And in terms of all these different offerings within the Vedas, these are all still can be the allurements of the material energy. And actually in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's mentioned that this material world is simply, it's like the smiling face of the Lord. So it's very, very attractive, and it's also like our friend. So this material world can seem like a natural place for us. But this is simply the illusion of Maya that begins to trick us and think that we can actually be comfortable here and be happy here. But ultimately, all the happiness which is within this material world, it's simply like just simply a relief from a suffering condition. And actually, for those who are in true knowledge, they can see that this actually material body is simply just a cause of endless suffering. So it's actually the soul which is free from this entanglement of matter. It doesn't face any anxieties or suffering. And in terms of this material world and bodily attachment, the body will continue in terms of repeated birth and death and cycle after cycle. But for the soul is beyond all that, and the soul has that eternal relationship which it can awaken with Krishna. I'd like to ask if there's any questions so far. Okay, so thank you. I think maybe I can. Yes, Srinivas. So how does it take place? Yeah, so that's a very good question. So thank you, Srinivas. To awaken this relationship, to awaken our inner relationship with Krishna, how does it take place, and what is the process? So ultimately, the first thing is that we have to actually have a desire. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Tasam satata yukta nam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddha yogam svam yena mam upayanti te. That for those who are endeavoring to serve me with love, I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. So ultimately, this whole material world is based on our desire, a reciprocation with our desire. And this is very much evident in today's verse, that based on all these different material desires, if we have those within our heart, that is what we'll actually get. But in terms of actual scriptural knowledge, we have to be actually intelligent and to fully realize that we can actually awaken that relationship, and all these actual material desires we can actually subdue through the process. So the process is very simple, as I mentioned earlier, and you can please repeat after me if that's okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So it's said in the Srimad Bhagavatam also that if one wants transcendental knowledge, they must approach a spiritual master. So also on the spiritual path, just like on any path, whether it's education, academics, we need to have a teacher, a professor. So that teacher is a spiritual master, and he can actually see where we are, and he's able to advise us accordingly. So it's best to actually, the scriptural knowledge is good, but it's best to take shelter of those who actually have knowledge, and also to associate with devotees. So devotee association is very much key in devotional life. Devotee association, it can uplift us, keep so many things at bay which are not necessary, and keep us in good, healthy consciousness to actually live a happy spiritual life and to make progress on the path. I hope that's okay, or is there any more that you're looking for? That?
impermanent things, take up permanent things, associate with devotees. In this way, your closeness to Krishna will come. Unfortunately, we are conditioned with the world, with wrong habits, so we are actually impermanent things. So the devotee teaches how to do everything for Krishna. So by using everything for Krishna, you get purified. And then hearing lectures, reading proper books, taking to chanting Hare Krishna. Prabhupada said one time, he said, the essence of Bhagavad Gita is that you chant Hare Krishna. If someone who's got knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, knowledge is good, but that's not in itself everything. Knowledge is how to stepping stone, you help you surrender to Krishna. So you have to take it to chanting. Chanting is a thing which will purify your consciousness. Too much knowledge can make you proud sometimes as well. Right? So chanting connects you to Krishna and associate with those who are serving Krishna, then you get purified.
Thank you very much, Srinivasvu. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada said, he says, simple for the simple and complicated for the complicated. So the process is very simple but effective, and yeah, just devotee association, chanting, and let's also see that everything can be actually dovetailed in Krishna service, no matter what walk of life we're in, whether we're busy with family, job, and so on. It can all be dovetailed, and as long as we endeavor to chant every day. So if there's any more questions, please don't be shy and feel free to ask. Yes, thank you, Machi.
Everybody was asking me what's more important, devotee association or reading Sri Prabhupada's books. Because sometimes if we're in devotee association, we get too much service and we don't get time to read. If we stay at home, then we can read, but we don't get the association.
From my understanding, yeah, it's maybe, yeah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in certain circumstances as well, of course, it's always good to have devotee association, like in the temple and spiritual environments as well. But also, Srila Prabhupada, he did say as well, if you want to know me, read my books, and so on. That when we read Srila Prabhupada's work, Srila Prabhupada's books as well, and his words, in one sense, we're very much associating with Srila Prabhupada as well, through reading his books as well, and that can be, yeah, very very much a good thing as well. The books are very important. There's this verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which can be referred to as well as to reading, that if one isn't hearing regularly, that knowledge and so on, that just like one is not eating, they'll eventually become weak and fall down. So it's the same with spiritual life. So reading it nourishes our soul as well, and also sometimes, especially in the Western world, more so as well, it can be quite difficult to find a temple close by and so on. But ultimately, sadhu sangha, discussion amongst devotees, Krishna katha is essential also. But that's just one thought I had, is that actually Srila Prabhupada's books, if we're lacking for a devotee association, we can associate with at least Srila Prabhupada through his books. Thank you. Okay, so thank you very much for your kind attention. We'll have Gaur Arti at 7, and afterwards they'll be serving Mahaprasadam. So thank you very much. Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, all glories assemble devotees. Hare Krishna.